Holy crap. What just happened, Phoenix Suns fans? I don't even know what to say. This is literally a live reaction, emergency live show. And wow. What did I say in yesterday's show during Frank Vogel's press conference recap show with my friend Thunder Steve 85? I said the last report that we knew was Chris Paul. You know, they said that they were committed to him and that they expected him to be the starting point guard. That is insane, y'all. Like the NBA moves so fast and nothing is guaranteed. Unless you're Devin Booker or Kevin Durant, nothing is guaranteed. Like guys, you're going to have to help me here. Like I am trying to process this, y'all. That Chris Paul is going to be a free agent. I don't even know what to say, man. Now, real quick, let me just get to the tweets here because there is some numbers here to break down, and I'm seeing other Suns people talk about this. Let me just zoom in on my little screen here. Once again, you guys, one man show. Do me a huge favor, you guys. Crush the like button, share the show, and let me just share my screen. Once again, one man show here. Please bear with me. So this comes from Chris Haynes. Chris Haynes of Bleacher Report was the first one to break this, and you guys are seeing it right now. Breaking news. Phoenix Suns have notified star Chris Paul that he will be waived, making the future Hall of Famer one of the top free agents this off season. League sources tell ESPN and Bleacher Report. So I'm seeing some people in the comments and I'm seeing some things, you know, like I'm literally like, and just moving on real quickly. Eric Pincus says, now this guy covers the league. He's a salary cap guru and all that. I've actually met him before. I met him a few years ago in Summer League. He's a very nice guy. He said, guessing that the Suns stretch Chris Paul's $15.8 million guaranteed over 5 years at $3.6 million per season. If the Suns stretch him, they cannot re-sign him this summer. If they just waive him without stretch, they can re-sign him, though, but I can't read, y'all. I'm sorry. Let's try that again. If the Suns stretch him, they cannot re-sign him this summer. If they just waive him without stretch, they can re-sign him, though they won't have his rights. Can be at minimum if that was something both sides wanted. So it seems like if we're going off what Eric Pincus said, and I'm curious on what Bobby Marks of ESPN is going to have to say about this. I wonder if this, how do I say this? I wonder if this is going to be sort of, we're going to find out more details later. You know what I mean? And John Gambadoro of Arizona Sports says the Suns were never going to pay him $30 million for this season. That honestly, now that I've sort of processed this, that actually sort of makes a little bit of sense. Only options were to waive and re-sign for vets minimum or waive and stretch, in which he could not come back to the Suns. So we're going to have to just wait and see, y'all. I think I might have been a little premature on this. I thought like he was like getting waived and they were moving on from Chris Paul and all that. I'm sorry, you guys, but I still wanted to go live anyways. So yesterday, during Frank Vogel's introductory press conference, my good friend Thunder Steve 85 and I, we did a little round of who's going to stay, who's going to go, who's going to be on the roster next year. And this is my honest thoughts, you guys. This is how I've been. Like, I have sort of been a Chris Paul defender. And by that, I mean, you know, a lot of people are like, we want him off the roster and Chris Paul needs to go and all that stuff, right? And I have definitely acknowledged that Chris Paul is aging and he is slowing down. And he's not the same, takeover CP3 that we once saw, And, but at the same time, though, I think Chris Paul had a lot of games this season and even last season where he was sort of overlooked, if you will. And I think it also gets overlooked that having somebody like Chris Paul is an extra coach sort of on the court, a veteran in this league who has been there and done that. And I think that's important. Now, as John Gamadoro said, is all that worth $30 million per year, especially with the way that the league is changing, especially with the new CBA, which is going to take effect, I believe, this offseason or next or whatever it is? It's not worth it, obviously. Especially with how expensive the Phoenix Suns are right now, because a lot of our money is tied up in Booker, KD, Ayton, etc. And I don't really know what my point is. Oh, and then Chris Haynes just tweets out, Chris Paul plans to play for several more years and is eager to help a team contend for a championship, sources said. So, holy crap, I'm telling you guys, we are literally witnessing this in live time. So, what does that mean? Chris Paul plans to play for several more years and is eager to help a team contend for a championship, sources say. I want to hear from you. I'm trying to look at the comments. And by the way, blow up the comment section, or blow up the chat, I should say, and share the show. I want to hear from you guys. Do you guys think the Chris Paul era in Phoenix is over? Or do you think they're going to work out a deal and figure this all out? Because I think another thing that really is getting overlooked is the fact that, the new CBA and the Suns sort of salary situation might come into effect here. But I like what Gambo said here. So before I get you guys on, I like what Gambo said here. The Suns were never going to pay him $30 million for this season. Only options were to waive and re-sign for vet's minimum and waive and stretch in which he could not come back to the Suns.
1 minute later.
John Gambadoro tweets this out a few minutes ago. Suns need to avoid the apron, which is a very infamous word right now in the NBA. Suns need to avoid the apron. Look it up. Too hard to explain. Chris at $30 million was not a possibility. Now, what I have been saying for some time is the only way he plays for Phoenix was to waive and re-sign for vet's minimum, but that does count $15 million on the Suns cap for 2023-24. Okay, I like that, but that also kind of scares me. From what I'm gathering from what John Gambo just tweeted here, was that the Suns can re-sign Chris Paul for the vet minimum, but the $15 million originally guaranteed to Chris Paul's contract would still count towards the Suns. That sucks. Did I process that fully correctly? Like, someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but that's how I look at it. Chris Paul can re-sign for the vet minimum, but we still get hit with $15 million. Now, let's be real. The NBA is expensive. Matt Ishbia has a lot of money, but that's still $15 million, y'all. Damn. Damn. Okay, let's see what else the Twitterverse is saying. John Gambo also says, by the way, waiving and stretching him, they can spread out $15 million over 5 years. So he would only count $3 million on this year's cap, but could not play for the Suns under this option. By the way, y'all, I know some of you guys don't like John Gambo. And again, he doesn't need me to defend him, but he's been right on a lot of things. And I think he's been right on this because I like the way that he summed that up. You can re-sign Chris Paul, but either way, it's either going to be $3 million or $15 million that we get hit with for our salary cap. Now, I don't know who this person is, but I don't even want to butcher his name. Chris Paul is partially guaranteed $15.8 million. Phoenix can stretch that amount to $3 million over the next 5 years. Okay, so that's pretty much what John Gambo said here. Paul, on the other hand, might not have to. Sorry, I can't read, you guys. You guys know that I can't read. Paul, on the other hand, might not have much trade value at all given his age and $60 million over the next 2 seasons. If the Suns can't move him, they could attempt to waive and re-sign him to the $12.2 million mid-level exception. He would add 15. Yeah, see the dead cap with the 15.8 million, blah, blah, blah. The maneuvering would allow them to keep Paul next year while saving $8 million. Oh boy, you guys, this is what James Jones and his front office get paid to literally study. And Frank Vogel had a really interesting quote yesterday. Frank Vogel said that he took the year off with his family, which is great. That's awesome. But he also said that he was watching like close to 6 hours of basketball and he was studying the league and studying how the league is changing. And I'm telling you, you guys, this new CBA stuff, which I don't even want to pretend like I understand it fully, but this new CBA stuff really is going to come into play later on. And I think that that's why this is happening. And it's not going to be just Chris Paul. This is going to happen to other players and teams. And every deal that goes on from here on out is going to kind of be overanalyzed just because of this new CBA deal. Which I've seen some people say, why would the players sign off on such a terrible CBA thing? I'm a little optimistic when it comes to that because I believe that if they didn't think it was going to be good in the long run, especially for them and the league, they wouldn't have done it. Does that make sense? And, you know, let's be real. No CBA deal is going to be perfect, but I'm sure that they signed off on it for a good reason.
Much later.
This is just breaking news from Shams. And like I said, you guys, this is updated information. More info is going to be coming out about this. This was just tweeted out. Sources. The Suns and Chris Paul are exploring multiple options, including a trade, stretching his contract, or waiving and re-signing him in free agency. Phoenix is expected to discuss trades ahead of Paul's June 28th contract date. So, guys, I want to hear from you. What do you think is going to happen? Because Shams pretty much laid out every scenario right there of what could happen. Either he's going to get traded, they're going to stretch his contract, which we sort of went over earlier when Gambo was tweeting about all that, or they're just going to waive him and re-sign him in free agency. Like, what the heck is happening?
To be fair, that's every possible scenario anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Now I have an Athletics subscription and I don't want to share it because I guess you can get like in trouble for that, but I will read you some of the quotes here. Let me just read for a second here. Okay. The Suns had initial discussions on Wednesday with Paul's agent, Stephen Heumann of CAA Sports, and explained that they'd be exploring all options, which we just talked about. The Suns have a June 28th guaranteed deadline on Paul's $30 million contract. Roughly $15 million is currently guaranteed. And then he goes into the backstory of Chris Paul and his career, and that's pretty much it. So again, the headline there is pretty much what sums up is next for Chris Paul. Somebody just tweeted out, Chris Haynes jumped the gun, didn't he? I love that. So those are the options, you guys. And we're probably not going to hear anything till tomorrow or the next day or next week, but definitely before June 28th. That is the latest update right here, you guys. Shams Charania of The Athletic. The Suns are exploring multiple options with Chris Paul. My dogs are freaking out, including a trade, stretching his contract, or waiving and re-signing him in free agency. You guys, it is going to be a chaotic off season, not just for the Phoenix Suns, but for the entire NBA. But this definitely shakes things up. And just like Frank Vogel said, yeah, you have something, Casey?
I got something.
Go for it.
Sorry, this is from Woj.
Go for it.
The Suns insist that they're still working through several possibilities on Paul's future and reiterated that to his representatives later on Wednesday afternoon. Sources said Phoenix plans to explore trade opportunities, including Paul and DeAndre Ayton, that could alter the franchise's roster landscape ahead of the final decision on Paul's partially guaranteed contract, sources said.
Holy shit. I'm trying not to cuss. Oh. Okay.
Sorry, I had to. I'm like, no. You gotta stop.
I wasn't really going really anywhere. Oh my God. Okay, you are right. You are 100% right.
I just sent you the article. It's in there.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna screen cap this, or I'll just zoom in on it so that
Paul continues to want to return to the Suns and partner with his close friends Book and Durant, sources said. Nevertheless, Paul and his representative want the organization to make a quicker decision on his future so that he can proceed out into the marketplace as a free agent, if indeed they ultimately waive him, sources said.
Wow. So here's the article, everybody. Oops. Ooh. Can you guys see that?
Second paragraph.
The Suns insist that they're still working through several possibilities. So I'm going to highlight some of this stuff. Phoenix plans to explore trade opportunities, including Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton, that could alter the franchise's roster and landscape. And the landscape of the NBA, too. Oh, my God. That is the big takeaway, like you read, Casey. Phoenix plans to explore trade opportunities, including Paul and DeAndre Ayton, that could alter the franchise's roster landscape ahead of the final decision on Paul's partially guaranteed contract. Something else that you read that stood out to me, and I want to make sure that I'm reading this correctly. Here we go. Two things here. Paul continues to want to return to the Suns. That is a huge takeaway, but there's a little bit more. And partner with his close friend, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. That's huge. So it's not like Chris Paul's like, I'm out of here. Screw Phoenix. It was a good time. I'm out. Peace. No, he's like, I love Booker. I love KD. I still want to stay here. I'm sure his family's, I'm sure he's got a house in Phoenix. He's got kids, dude. You know what I mean? But something you read that stood out to me, Casey. Paul and his representatives want the organization to make a quicker decision on his future. Casey, that makes a lot of sense, dude. You know what I mean? Like, Chris Paul doesn't seem like the kind of guy that wants to waste time and drag things out and drama and all these headlines and all that. Like, let's be real, Casey. You have a job. I have a job. I wouldn't want my future with my job to be up in the air. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want my job to say, well, Brandon, we like you, but we might let you go. You know what I mean? Screw that. Chris Paul and his representatives are right. Like, figure out what we're doing here so that we can move on. Like, am I a Sun or am I not a Phoenix Sun? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jeez Louise, man. Thank you for bringing that up, Casey. Oh, my God. I can't even. This is a historic live show, everybody. And go read the article. I'll post it in the chat so everyone can go read it. There's some big takeaways here, everybody. Dave King from Bright Side of the Sun says Suns don't actually have to do anything on Chris Paul until June 24th, the day after the draft. I think it's 2 days after the draft. Until then, he's only guaranteed $15.8 million after June 24th. Oh, okay. So for right now, he's getting paid $15.8 million, but after June 24th, that's when the $30 million will be, I guess, guaranteed. All but 2 teams are allowed to make trades right now. Most of them will wait until the draft. I had that question yesterday. Someone asked me, can teams make trades right now? And I said, technically they can, but usually it's after the finals. You know what I mean? Teams don't usually make trades during the NBA finals. So, and now Gambo just tweeted something out. So we're not ending the show, Casey. You better just buckle up, man. We're going to be here for a while.
It's Kevin Durant all over again.
For real. We went live 4 hours that night, man.
4 hours and 20 minutes.
So here's the Bobby Marks tweet. And again, this guy knows this stuff. I'm not going to reread it to you because it's boring. But here's the bottom part is what stands out to me. A player stretch cannot be re-signed. Waiving and taking the full 15.8 mil cap hit only opens up 5 million tax ML. So, and then Gambo tweets out, the Chris Haynes report is false. Suns having discussions about Chris Paul's future, but have not made a decision at this time. So as Anna said earlier in the chat, I wish I would have highlighted that comment. Conflicting reports. Conflicting reports, Casey. Everywhere. Chris Haynes is saying one thing. Shams is saying another. Woj comes out and says what he said with Ayton. And now Gambo saying, nope, it's false. Chris Paul's future has not been made up yet. So Suns fans, who do you believe? I'm serious. Who do you guys believe out there? I want to know. And I'm sure my guy Flex from Jersey is going to say something soon too. I wish I could find Anna's comment, but Anna's comment was, conflicting reports. So stay tuned, everybody. That's all I got to say. This is some really big stuff. I will end with this, though, everybody. As they were saying in the reports, we will know more probably by June 24th. And at the latest, we will know by June 28th. Because free agency starts, I believe, July 1st. And again, I'm a very open-minded person. We can know Chris Paul's future by next week.
We can know it by tonight.
Yeah. We can maybe have another emergency live show and know it by tonight. So the QC says, anyone who tweets this is false is the one I believe. That's why, man, like I don't know. I don't know, Casey. I just believe who you guys want to believe, Suns fans. And, take it with a grain of salt. This just goes to show how big the league is. And even if you have sources, doesn't necessarily mean that you're 100% right. Things can change like that. And especially if you've seen the football movie Draft Day, which I absolutely adore that movie. I have it on Blu-ray. As Kevin Costner said in that movie, we live in a completely different world than we did 30 seconds ago. That's draft day in any sport summed up. You could have one trade on the table during draft day, and 30 seconds later, it's a completely different world.
What's up, Suns Geek?